The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, welcome to everyone that's joined already. We're still waiting for 2 minutes and then we'll start. Get your cup of tea, get your coffee. We'll start soon. Okay, welcome everyone. We are very happy that you are joining us this morning for our webinar on best practices in grid development. Today, we will be diving deep into WiseGRID's approach to wide-scale demonstrations of integrated solutions and business models for the European smart grid. My name is Urszula Papajak. I work at the Renewables Grid Initiative, and I'll be moderating today's session. We are very pleased that Natalia da Silvia from ENSO-E is also joining us today. Natalia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. As Urszula said, I'm Natalia. I work in ENSO-E in the communications team. We are the European Network for Transmission System Operators for Electricity, and we work in matters such as the implementation of network codes and the clean energy package. So I invite you all to check our website if you're interested in knowing more about what we do, ensoe.eu. And I hope you all enjoy this webinar.
Okay, thank you. Shortly before we start, I would like to make you aware that we are recording this session and we will publish it on our website afterwards. Okay, let's have a quick look at the agenda. After this short introduction, we will move on to WiseGRID's presentation. Afterwards, we'll open a Q&A session where you will have an opportunity to ask questions. If you have any questions, please type them in our chat box. Before we dive into WiseGRID's presentation, let me shortly introduce RGI. The Renewables Grid Initiative is a unique collaboration of environmental NGOs and transmission system operators from across Europe. We promote transparent, environmentally sensitive grid development to enable the steady growth of renewable energy and the energy transition. As you can see from our slide, our membership spans all across Europe. This webinar is part of our good practice work that we initiated a few years ago with a goal to promote good practices in grid development and exchange knowledge and experience. Within that framework, in collaboration with ENSO-E, we started this series of webinars. The recording from the previous one is available on our website. In collaboration with the European Commission, we also launched a Good Practice of the Year award. WiseGRID project was one of last year's applicants. Let me quickly use this opportunity to invite everyone to either apply this year or help us spread the word about this year's award. And now, Vaiva Indilaiter, project manager at rescoop.eu, will present WiseGRID project's wide-scale demonstration of integrated solutions and business models for the European smart grid. And she will hopefully answer most of your questions afterwards as well. Vaiva, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm just gonna quickly share my screen. Hello, is everybody can see me? I hope so. So today I'm gonna present you, I'm gonna talk about the WiseGRID project, which is a wide-scale demonstration of integrated solutions for European smart grid. And we, as a RescuePU, we are a federation of renewable energy cooperatives in Europe, and we work in the WiseGRID project as a dissemination leaders. And today I would like to have a more or less general introduction to the project, and in case you have more technical questions, I will be more than happy to share it with my colleagues or answer it to you via email or in a different form. So let's start. WiseGRID has lots of different partners, and as you can see, the consortium is very big. There is 21 partners. We have partners from the technical part, as for example Varta. We have cooperatives as Enercoop or EcoPower. We have universities, technical universities and social universities like Queen Mary or Athens University. And of course we have a lot of different kind of social enterprises like Emotion, for example. So what is the project about? It started in November 2016, not very long ago, and it will last for 42 months until 2020. And the project coordinator is a technology company at RID, Spanish company. And the project had funding, was funded from the H2020 funding scheme. And it was built on the previous successful projects such as NobleGrid. And as I mentioned, it has 21 partners from 8 different countries, and it has a very big budget. So the challenge of the WiseGRID is to put into the market a set of solutions and technologies to increase the smartness, stability, and security of an open, consumer-centric European energy grid with an enhanced use of storage technologies and a highly increased share of renewable energy sources. So we are not only trying to make these technologies somewhere in the laboratory to test them, but you can also we try to make these technologies tested in the real time, in the real life pilot sites, and they are 4. It's in Kitnos and Mesogia in Greece. This is an island. In Terni in Italy, in Ghent in Belgium. This is in Flanders region of Belgium, and in Crevillent in Spain. So these demonstrators, they are they will have integrated these WiseGRID solutions will be demonstrated under real-life conditions in 4 large-scale demonstrators, as I mentioned, in Belgium, Italy, and Spain, and Greece, and under different technical, climatological, regulatory, legislative, and social conditions. And these demonstration sites will involve more than 1,000 users, 60 batteries, 50 heat pumps, and it will have a renewable energy of almost 70 megawatts, we hope. And when I said that demonstrators will have demonstrators are choose to be under different climatological, regulatory, and legislative conditions, what I meant by that is the first demonstrator is electric cooperative Crevillient, called Crevillient, it's in Spain. And this is also a DSO and a retailer that provides electricity to almost 40,000 households and 2,000 companies in a low voltage network. And the entire energy production of the entity has 0 emissions and is working hard to get all of it generated and distributed energy 100% clean. Rescoop Cooperative in Flanders, Belgium, they are presented by Cooperative EcoPower. Energy ID is also a cooperative social profit IT company. And Pertago is also electric mobility cooperative. And the main demonstration site in Flanders is Sint Amandsberg, and it's a neighborhood with almost 2,000 residents, which is formed by the people who live under, on a very tight budget conditions. And there is already an initiative of the neighborhood that supports Ghent. It's called Bourg-Strom, but the difference in Ghent is that they also have a PV production, we have wind production, and we have also the batteries. But it's different climate very different climate from Spain. Huh? And in Italy, it's a public DSO, and basically it's one of the biggest DSOs that are working with photovoltaics, and it's one of the biggest DSOs in the region. Kitnos and Mesogia, they are interconnected islands in Greece. They are not connected to the Athens, and the main electricity mix of Kitnos Island is dominated by diesel and fuel oil, which is really bad, and there is a high seasonality. So the main electricity usage is during the holidays and the summer season. And Mesogia includes municipalities of Koropi, Lavrio, Macri, and Kea Androsentinos. And basically, these islands are supported by HEDNO, which is Effective Distribution Network Operator, the main network operator in Greece, and it has a maintenance and development for these islands for the electricity system. And why I talked, you heard a word smart a lot, and you probably think why we need the smart solutions in the energy system, and why we would need why we need to change actually something. The idea is that our energy system is very unreliable. There have been a massive blackouts over the past 40 years, 3 of which occurred, almost 9 occurred in the European electricity system. And it happened because the current electrical system is decades old and dependent upon equipment that is approaching almost at the end of this usable life. And it's very bad, because if you think, these blackouts also happen in the hospitals, in schools, in banks, and it actually can even harm people's life in the milliseconds. And the losses that we have are very big. And our electricity system is also very inefficient. Also, because these blackouts and brownouts are occurring due to slow response times of the mechanical switches and a lack of automated analytics. And when I say lack of situational awareness of the grid operators, I mean that when there's something goes wrong in today's electrical system, a utility worker must drive to the location of the problem to collect data before the solution can be devised. And that should change. We should have a updated infrastructure, ensuring that safety standards continue to be met and the power is delivered consistently and that the system is managed efficiently. And we also cannot do that because all of these mechanical switches that basically occurs in nowadays electrical system, we cannot reduce cost by that, because basically main electricity price that we pay is on the administration most of the times in some European countries. And also our electricity system is very environmentally unfriendly. And I wrote here that if the grid would be even just 5% more efficient, but the energy savings could eliminate the fuel and greenhouse gas emissions from 53 million cars. So that's actually a lot, if you think about it. So if we actually would ensure a great smart grid, we could make a possibility to we could make a possibility to update the infrastructure and have a better innovation system. So this is what actually the WiseGRID project wants to do. It has 4 different strategic goals, and one of them is to actually update the demand response, allowing active participation, protection environment of the European consumers and prosumers, to have a sustainable business models that would guarantee a sustainable use of our resources and profit that we have, and create a win-win situation not only for the grid operators but also for the consumers and prosumers. And what we like to do with this project is to smarten the distribution grid, include advanced monitoring and awareness systems that would help to have a real-time connection and real-time data, which would actually reduce the cost of the whole grid system, and integrate the virtual power plants and microgrids as active balancing assets. And of course, to include integration of renewable energy storage systems in the network, such as batteries or heat accumulators, and create optimization of the market deployment with the storage systems. And smart integration of electrical mobility services should also is one of the goals of the project, to provide charging, storage capacity, and possible use of the batteries as a storage systems or the virtual power plants. So how does it look like? It looks something like this. It's how to say, a maquette, a possible technological solutions that we will have. Sorry. And there is 9 products that we have, and I would like to right now just go very quickly around those and just say a few words what they are. So if you look at the left corner, there is a guy who sits next to all of these computers. And this guy is a microgrid operator usually. And he controls, manage by the help of, so just before I start, maybe, so these technological solutions are basically ICT tools. It's an app that we are developing, and these apps are, now I'm going to talk about how these apps are basically interconnected with each other and how they help with the smart grid solution. So continuing, so this guy who sits in front of these computers helps to control, manage, and monitor his own grid, improving flexibility, stability, and security of the network, and considering the increased renewable sources that we want to have. And this is a help for him. If you look at the tool that is next to, it's called the WiseGRID. It's a WiseGRID interoperable platform. It's like ACT tool. It's an ACT platform that helps to make all the interfaces for the real-time monitoring and decentralized control in order to support effective operation of the energy network. And the objective of this big ICT platform is to manage and process this massive data stream coming from the distributed energy infrastructure deployed. WiseGRID Resco is very sorry, renewable energy service company, and this it's on the right corner, the most furthest one. And this tool enables the provision of energy to the consumers from renewable energy sources and making it possible that whether it be households or businesses, service that do not own the generative equipment would still get the electricity. Wise Home is the app that is next to these little homes, and it's created for the residential buildings. It's for the buildings where we all live. And it's application for us, for the consumers. It's for individual domestic consumers and also prosumers. To become an active energy players, and other functionalities, of course, include like real-time monitoring of consumption, production, demand response programs, participation alerts, tips and price information to reduce billing, remote control of the smart devices. And Wise Corp is for territorial buildings, and Wise Corp is the buildings that you see, like they look a little bit like a skyscrapers, but they are not. It's basically the buildings where we go to buy food, where we actually work. So these buildings, it's a corporate application for businesses, industries, ESCOs, public facilities, and also it can be for the prosumers as well, by giving them more power and protection, reducing energy bills, supporting self-consumption by the means of real-time data and demand response and load optimization schemes. And WiseCoop is the one that is just next to residential buildings. And this WiseCoop is an application for the application for the energy retailers, aggregators, local communities, the same cooperatives, and also it can be used for the consumers and prosumers to help actually for the small businesses to achieve better energy deals and relieving them from the administrative procedures and the research. And this WiseCoop is helping for also to see what kind of services are needed in the market. So then cooperatives can sell back the excessive amount of energy. And VG Stas and VPP is the one that next to the batteries. It's energy storage as a service, and it's also virtual power plants. And this tool will make operational a service by which prosumers, be them households or corporate, can easily offer to the market through a third party, which basically operates the service their unused storage capacity. And alternatively, a complementary service will allow prosumers to easily aggregate, again through a third party, their spare energy generation capacity and offer it to the market in the form of the virtual power plant. And WiseVPP EVP is just next to this small, this small green car, as you see there. It's an electrical vehicle platform. It's for vehicle sharing companies and electric vehicle fleet managers in order to optimize the activities related with smart charging and discharging of the EVs and reduce, of course, the energy billing. And the vast application is WiseGRID Fast Vehicle to the Grid. It's a EV charging station that will make possible to use EV as a dynamic distributed storage device, feeding electricity stored in batteries back into the system when needed. So all of these apps, if you see them, basically this small guy that sits next to the computers there, this microgrid operator, he has a variety of services by the help of these apps. And he can see what kind of consumption he has on residential buildings, what kind of consumption he has on tertiary buildings, with the help of these apps. And also he can sell back, he has also an app to actually sell back the excess amount of electricity, if he has one, back to the grid. Also, if the grid requires some kind of services, to electricity to be injected and ejected at the same time from the grid, he can also have these services from electric vehicle platforms. So it's what you see here, it's like a small smart grid system. These apps were created by the help of the high-level use cases, and these high-level use cases were 7. I will not go very much into detail of this, but if you have more questions, I can direct it to our technical colleagues. But basically, if you remember, these high-level use cases, they have the main topics that they address. It's like a 4 strategic goals that the WiseGRID also has. It's a demand response, smartening distribution grid, energy storage technology, smart integration of grid users into electric mobility. And yes, so if you have more questions, our technical colleagues would be more than happy to answer those. So there's a lots of projects nowadays that works with grid development and grid structure, but why especially WiseGRID is important? It's because it actually works. We don't do in this project an innovation. All these tools are already invented, but we work with we try to work with the decentralization of the energy system in order to actually enable all the citizens to be in the transformation of the grid. And we help with these apps to reduce complexity and allow participation. And we display the cooperative as a participative governance model. So we go beyond empowering prosumers. On top, we have a consumer-centric approach, but we deliver tools that helps to support the grid by creating a healthy, open market where not only the traditional utilities, but also players such as, electric cooperatives, small, medium businesses can play an active role. And by playing this role, they can effectively make a transition to energy democracy. And we not only provide a participation of all different players of the energy system possible. We also want to create a level playing field for all the resources in all of the markets. So we include the demand response, we include renewables, we include storage, and we include the prosumer as also some kind of source of the participation. So we create a competition in the market on the same level playing field, and in order to provide flexibility, energy, and capacity to the market. So this is a small, very small introduction to what we have. If you have more questions, or if you see something not good or not right, you can always contact us. And don't forget to look at our website, wisegrid.eu, and there is plenty of more information available. And now I'm gonna go back, stop sharing my screen, and I'm gonna go back to the moderator of Ursula.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Vaiva. Especially despite feeling, thanks for presenting despite feeling a little bit under the weather.
Yes.
Very informative, very interesting. I'll just quickly share my screen again. Just a second. Okay, I hope it works. Okay, so now's the time to raise questions and comments. We already have the first question that came in while Vaiva was presenting. And the question was, are each of these 9 services being employed in each of the demonstration towns?
Not all of them. So each of these pilot sites, they have a different conditions. So not all the tools can be, of course, deployed, and also a different amount of technological devices. So it's we try to deploy as much as possible, but not all of them. The majority is deployed on all of the pilot sites, but there is some slight differences between the tools.
Thank you. The next question: how do you?
I just want to add. You can find what kind of tools exactly are deployed on each of the pilot sites. You can find this on the website of different pilot sites. So there is full information which tools and what kind of deployment and what kind of result it would lead to.
Thanks a lot. The second question: how do you recruit your citizens? How exactly are they involved? How many are they across the different pilots?
We make basically we work with cooperatives. So cooperatives are in some of these pilot sites. There is cooperatives, so they try to include their own citizens. But we will do a recruitment kind of a recruitment workshops to actually find out which of the people would like to be participating in this project. If these pilot sites are not, they are small regions. For example, Kitnos, it has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is a regular like all citizens who actually lives in the country, not more than 200 citizens, I think so, or even less, that lives through all the year in the island. So it's a how to say small parts of the world. So it's not we don't have a big amount of citizens to work with. But we will do recruitment campaigns.
What are the advantages for the cooperatives in this project?
For cooperatives, it's we see a lot of advantages because we work with the different. We can be involved in working with the different new technologies, and we can actually test them by themselves. And also, we can broaden the network and find new allies. And we already saw this actually happening because people talk about we get new knowledge and about what is happening and how it should be deployed, and so this is a very valuable. It's like a valuable service for the cooperatives as well.
Will you evaluate the perception of different users afterwards, including citizens and prosumers?
I don't know how to answer to this question yet because we haven't thought about it. But of course, at the end of the project, we will do the overall evaluation of the deployment of the tools. And we will check the user experience, how it will be, how it was for each of the users in the different pilot sites.
Okay. Will your project make any statement about how the usage of such tools impacts the need for transmission grids? And do you have an expectation what this impact will be?
I cannot answer to this question now, but I'm happy to answer this by email or give it to my technical colleagues right now. I'm very sorry because I might say some things that might be not true in the project. So I would just like not to answer to this question. I can answer by email.
Okay, I think that's absolutely fine. What is your project strategy for integrating additional solutions, platform services that fit in 9 services? Do you have open APIs? Do you work with dynamic pricing models in pilot sites?
I don't have information about that. I can answer to this question by email and collect it to my technical colleagues.
Okay, thanks. And I think one of the last questions, are different types of storage included? Only batteries?
There is a heat accumulators as well. For now, there is a batteries and there is a heat accumulators that are included, but it varies from pilot site to pilot site.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question, at least for now, but please feel free to raise more questions if you have any. In which country are the market regulations best to encourage flexibility, such as demand response and storage?
The best, I think, from these pilot sites, as now I see, it's of course in Belgium, because there is at least a legislative legislative background for this from this pilot site that we are working on. But I hope that in the future it will be not even a question, and all of these countries will have the same legislative background.
What will be the next step after this project? Is it likely that results could be used to help shape grid codes, etc.?
it would be great if that would be a possibility, but that's not in the project scope as far as I know, because the grid codes are not the main, how to say, topic of the project. But of course, if we create this, if we create the effective demand response mechanism, and these tools actually really help, so of course it should shape the grid codes in some kind of way, because we provide more flexibility to the consumer, and of course we hope it will happen.
Do you see improvements in the clean energy package for prosumers, other flexibility sources? Which points in the package do you consider more crucial?
For now, I think clean energy package already had a small lines, I would say, about the cooperatives, and that's already a very big improvement. But I wouldn't be a person in the position to actually say how the clean energy package will help for this project, if I understand the question correctly. But I am more than happy to direct this question from one of my colleagues that works directly in advocacy with these kind of topics, and is from Rescue PU, Josh Roberts. So I'm happy to give his contact, and he knows even more about this.
Okay, great. Are you evaluating grid costs and impact of such on the business model and the viability of the solutions?
Would you mind repeating the question? I'm very sorry.
Yeah, sure. Are you evaluating grid costs and impact of such on the business models and viability of the solutions?
We are working on the business models right now, but mainly we try to of course, the grid costs might be included into the business model, because it's like an administrative cost that basically will be paid by all of the consumers. But it's not the main, how to say, this is not, we don't have a separate business model on that, as viewing how the grid cost would impact the electricity bill. We don't have the separate business model on this.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. I'll wait for another minute, prolong it a little bit in case someone is still persistent and would still like to raise a question. And otherwise, I think, yeah, Viva already mentioned that she would be happy to answer questions via email. So perhaps if someone still has a question, you can reach out to Viva. Okay, we'll slowly wrap up. But before we do, I wanted to say a big thank you to Natalia for helping us organize the webinar, and to ENSO-E for supporting us in organizing this work.
Thank you.
Thanks. Big thank you to Viva, of course, again for a really interesting presentation, and for staying strong even when having a cold. One last reminder: if you currently work for a project that meets Good Practice Awards criteria, or you know someone who could apply this year, please help us spread the word, and please encourage others to apply. The deadline is 16th February, but we kindly encourage everyone to not to wait for the last minute and actually apply as soon as possible. If you wish to receive regular updates from RGI, subscribe to our newsletter. And yeah, once again, thanks a lot to everyone. It's been a great learning. And yeah, have a lovely day, and hope to hear you next time.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Ciao.